funny enough, back where I am now, in this very city, I used to sing there's a big church here, a cathedral, and I used to sing in the choir when I was a kid, as funnily enough did Harry. He was older, he was an adult, but we both sang in this place. And it was very traditional English, lovely, normal things that you say, like Downton Abbey, but in a church. And then one afternoon, we got a phone call. Can you sing on this soundtrack to The Last Temptation of Christ? This Martin Scorsese film with this Peter Gabriel score. The phone call didn't come to me, obviously. It came to the bosses of the choir. But we did it, and it was, I'd say, was that the beginning of my film scoring career? Obviously, I didn't score the film. I sang on it. I think it left an indelible mark on an impressionable mind for someone who thought, wow, this is crazy. This is cool. This is probably something I want to do. And then I kind of, went through college, university, all that stuff, got to London. And then I did commercials. I did TV shows. I wrote music for theme parks, roller coaster rides. There was a whole toilet roll brand that had my music featured in it in the early 2000s. Real
making mom and dad proud, I'm sure.
Real proud. But then, I got the call from Harry, and he said,
real quick, with the choir stuff, how old were you when that happened? And I, before we move too far ahead, I'm curious, as a kid, hearing your voice in a Martin Scorsese film, were you taking your friends to the theater and being like, that's me? Like, what was going through your mind, and what was that light bulb moment where you thought, like, wow, this is crazy?
Well, two things. First of all, that movie was like hugely controversial at the time. I mean, I think it came out in 1988, and it caused a lot of like bother, blasphemy, and all the rest of it. Which I think, funnily enough, if that movie were released today, I don't think anyone would bat an eyelid. I'd say it was probably quite tame. I've only actually seen the movie once, and not at the time, because I would have been like very much not what my parents would have approved of. I think it was so bothersome and so controversial that I don't know what percentage of our vocals actually made it into the final score, because there was a huge kind of thing, an English choir shouldn't be working on this blasphemous thing, because we were, the choir is part of a religious institution. I'm perfectly happy to say I'm a devout atheist, so I couldn't give a shit. But it was it was bothersome, and I think that had an effect on what was actually used in the movie. Certainly, the soundtrack album, Peter Gabriel, Martin Scorsese had our voices on it. To be honest, it's an interesting question you ask. I don't think at the time it registered. I don't think it registered as something sensational. It just registered as something I thought, this is just cool. Like, they brought some kind of screen into the place we were recording. I don't think they could show us too many images, but I was aware that there was moving image. Guys bringing studio equipment in, and it just felt like, I wouldn't say rock and roll, but kind of rock and roll. Peter Gabriel, rock and roll. I mean, it felt like something very different to the very prim and proper daily round of musical performance. So it was disruptive, and I welcomed it. But I wouldn't say I was starstruck by it, or I was saying to all. I think sometimes as a kid, when you have those kind of crazy things, it's like you don't realize at the time. It's only after the event you kind of think back and think, Jesus, Martin Scorsese, Peter Gabriel. But yeah, I attribute that to a sort of seed being planted and probably a need to explore that whole world of music living alongside something else. Music not just operating on its own, but conjoining with other art forms and becoming something new, namely film.